Perfect. Go full screen. Change screen. Perfect. Let me get the anchor up running. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition, episode 20 of Coffee Time with Byron and Dave. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting on my co-host. I don't know when he'll be back, but I still wish him well. I keep checking in on him every day, so hopefully he'll be back soon. But we have a very special guest tonight for this edition, former NHL player, formerly of the Philadelphia Flyers, Brian Propp. How are you tonight?
I'm doing really well tonight. How about you? It looks like you're doing well.
Yeah, trying to hang in there with all this craziness still going on in this COVID era, but hey, doing what you can, right? Especially with sports coming back and being fully open. Texas is already open. Do you see your former team, the Flyers? Do you see them eventually having a full audience?
Yeah, maybe next year. I think that after the shots everyone has, that makes a big difference for all the shots that we have. And so that might be for next year.
Yeah, it's been so long. It's crazy. I want to go back to this at least is somewhat normalcy, because the Rangers in the very first full event, the Texas Rangers had their first full-time event, the first one since over a year. They allowed a full stadium, and then UFC just did it over the weekend here in Florida. So I think, thank God, we're getting back to normal. It feels like it, but then again, you still got to worry. Everybody is refusing shots. You got people still doing shots. It's crazy. But I'm like you. I have faith that by next year everything will be fine. But enough with that. So let's get into your 15 seasons that you played in the NHL. Do you have a memorable season that you remember the most when you played out of your 15 seasons?
Well, when I first got started, I was a rookie in 1979, and that year we had a 35 undefeated streak, which was really special for me. I was a rookie, so was Pete Peters, and we went to the finals against the Islanders, my first year. So it was a good way to get started. But before that, 3 years before that, I played for the Brandon Wheat Kings. We had powerful teams. We didn't lose too much, so I was kind of used to that. But the first year was special because of 35 undefeated, and I played with Bob Clark and Reggie Leach at the start of the year, and we did a good job of that. And then unfortunately we lost in the finals in overtime in Game 6 against the Islanders, but it was a good way to get started.
Yeah, and as you said, you played alongside Hall of Famers. What was it like playing against them? You being a rookie and knowing that there'll be future Hall of Famers. What was that like?
Yeah, but I worked really hard, and I did really well in Brandon, and so I knew I was a good player, so I didn't really wasn't on awe. So I just played to have fun, and we play with good teams and good coaches. That made a big difference. And the Flyers won a couple Stanley Cups in 74 and 75, so we had a good history of winning, and it was really important for me just to not worry about who I played. I could hang with them. I was one of the best players in the league from the first 10 years, and so it was normal for me.
And am I seeing this correct? But for the Canada Cup, Canadian team, you played alongside two Hall of Famers in Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux?
Yeah, that was in '87. It was the Canada Cup. It ended up being a 3-game series at the end against Russia, and every game was 6-5. We lost the first game 6-5. We won in double overtime. The second game 6-5, and then we scored with a minute left to win 6-5 for Team Canada, which was very special for me because you know. 3 years before, a year before that, I was in my third Stanley Cup final against Edmonton, and so it was kind of nice for me to be on the winning side.
Yeah, there you go. And I know, but I gotta ask you though, Wayne Gretzky, I know you played against, and Mario Lemieux, definitely you played against because he was your rival for Boston. What was it like playing with them as teammates, though? And especially Mario Lemieux, considering the fact he was your rival. Was there... How did that work about? How did that work about amongst you guys?
Well, it was different because in the Stanley Cups you play for your own team, and then for Team Canada, it's all of Canada that's watching, and so it was more a little bit like the Olympics. You play for your country, and so and I started with Gretzky in '75 also 79 also. So I played against him for 15 years, and then Lemieux came like a couple years before that. But yeah, to play against Mario in Pittsburgh, we had good teams like Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon and good goaltending. So we kind of we beat them a lot because one good player doesn't make a team, but we played as a team, and that's why we won so much. And then after a couple of years, I think that's why Lemieux learned from all the top leaders in the world how to win. And so, unfortunately for me, it was my fifth Stanley Cup final against Pittsburgh, and he kind of took it over the game 5 and 6. But you learn from that, and he was a great player, and so was Gretzky. But I at that year in '87, I was the oldest player on the team. I was 27, and so and I've been here for a lot of years, and I played in the World Championships in 82 and 83, so I knew how to play internationally. And so, and I played really hard, and I played to win. And as I got better, I learned how to play both sides of the ice.
So, which one would you say was more better for you, winning it for your country, or as many times as you won the Stanley Cup?
So for me, it was special because in all of Canada, we played in Canada. We played the first time we played against Montreal, and then we had 2 games in Hamilton, and so that was special because the rink was packed. It was our fans, and they were loud, and it was exciting hockey. And, but to win for your country, it makes a big difference. And, individually with the Stanley Cup finals, I played the 5 finals. And so I remember all of them. It's special every time you play, but it's, the team is different. You want to win as a team, but for the Canada, you want to win for the country.
Yeah. You're right, and that's be the same for the Americans too. So yeah, you're right about that. You'd want to win for your country, yeah. But I'm seeing this too. Take me through this. Game 1 of the '89 Stanley Cup playoff series against the Canadiens. Chris Chelios hits you hard and you sustain a concussion. Take us through that, and the next night, how your teammates retaliated back right at him with it.
So that year was '89, where we had a tough season against Pittsburgh in 7 games. And then, so the first game in Montreal, I know that Chelios hit me really, really bad from behind, and he knocked me out. And, I didn't know what was going on. Like I was out in the hospital the whole night and day. And, but, unfortunately, I only missed 1 game. And then, Hextall kind of in game 6 kind of, had fed up. And so he tried to be a leader like he did, and, get at Chelios again, which I admire Hextall for that, the leadership that he show. But it was tough because we were in the playoffs, and so it was tough to to do anything at that time.
Yeah, it says right here he was suspended for 12 games. Ouch. So even without knowing if you guys advanced, he got suspended. Woo.
Yeah, that was really unfair. I mean, Chelios didn't get any penalty or a
Yeah, I saw that.
Now it would have been 20 games, some censor, but but it was, for me, it was good about leadership. Like you learn with leadership how the top players protect you and make it better. So I love what Ron Hextall has done.
So it didn't take until your 11th season when you scored at least 65 points in a season. That year you were traded away by the Flyers. What do you remember about being traded, and how'd you feel about playing all them years in Philly but being traded to another team?
Well, at that time, they were kind of wanted to go to younger leaders, and they traded a couple other players. And that year I was hurt. I had my hand into surgery, so I missed 27 games of that. And then I came back at the end of the season, and then so like Dave Poulin was traded for Boston in January. And I was hurt, and then so like I got traded at the end with Boston. For me, it was good because I think Bob Clarke knew that we wanted to win a Stanley Cup, and the Flyers weren't going to be in the playoffs, and the leaders, they're younger, and so like the Flyers did not make the playoffs for the next 5 years, and so that was the veterans made a difference, especially when it comes to the playoffs. And so for me, it was it was kind of nice for me just to have Bob Clarke trade me at that time, because that year Boston was number one in the league, and then Dave Poulin was there. Plus, Dave Poulin and I killed penalties all through the 80s. We were probably the best penalty killers in the league for 10 years. And so it all made a big difference for me. Just as you go along, you'll find that life goes on, and as long as you have opportunities. And then Bob Clarke traded. He got fired, and then he took me to Minnesota for the next 3 years.
How'd both the fan bases treat you, since you went to one rival team to another after that?
Well, everyone wanted to win in Boston because we had two of the best players at that time with Poulin and myself, and so like we were looking to win in the Stanley Cup, and we got to the finals, and unfortunately, like the first game was triple overtime in Boston, and the Oilers won, and then it kind of went downhill from there. But that year, Randport was played really great in the playoffs, and so it's tough to win.
Yeah, it is, and you said, I mean, so what would you say was the most tougher of the Stanley Cups that you won? What teams gave you the most fit in your Stanley Cup battles? Which was the toughest?
Well, my first year was against the Islanders, because that year it was you played number 1 against number 16, and so that's why you played. That's why the Islanders and us played in the finals. And then they changed the conferences, so we got beat up a little bit at that time because we had a strong division. And then but Edmonton, the Islanders won for 4 straight years, and then Edmonton won 4 years, and then in the 80s, they had great players, and Gretzky and a bunch of them, all Hall of Famers, and Frere, and so it was really tough to win. But we in 85 and 87 we made a run at it, and then with me with Boston in 90 and in Minnesota in 92, the finals. It was all special, and unfortunately, I played against some of the better players in the league, like with Gretzky and Lemieux and Coffey, and or with Trottier and Gillies and Bossy. So like it's tough when you've got good players and teams, and it's tough to win.
So you signed, like you said, the free agent after you left the Bruins, you signed with the Minnesota North Stars. Did you know that you were going to be? Did you know that your former manager, general manager of the Bruins that got you, Bob Clark, was eventually going to get fired from the Minnesota North Stars?
No, I didn't know that until the end of the season. So, but for me, it was good because I wanted to play in Boston again. But the GM didn't offer me too much money, and so it was better to go with a person that I know. And also Minnesota, they had some young players like Madonna was there. He was a rookie, and I played with him and Dave Gagne. And then we had Bellens, Bellers, and Fort Bratton, and we had good teams. But having Bob Smith as a leader also came, and so the two of us were veterans that really knew how to win when it comes to the playoffs.
And I see this too, that with your time in the Minnesota North Stars, you in one playoff scored 8 goals and 23 points in 23 games, passing Bobby Hull. What was that like, passing a legend in Bobby Hull in points in a single playoff?
Yeah, but you don't worry about that. I mean, it's I had 28 points for the Flyers in '87. So I was a good performer in the playoffs. So that's why I'm number one in all time for left wingers scoring in the playoffs, and. It's consistent, and so that's what that's all about. Like, regular season, like you can take it or leave it, but when it comes to the playoffs, that's where you shine. And I didn't really know that I was beating some of these other guys, but it depends how many times the years they played or what they did. So I didn't really care about it. I just played to win as a team.
Now, what do you remember about before you retired? What do you remember about the NHL labor stoppage in '94?
Yeah, so that was in 95.
Yes.
Well, it was 95 because at that time I just retired and I played a year in France. So I was looking like I was the smartest guy in the world, where I still had a chance to play hockey. And so I was thinking that, hey, listen, if they want me back at the end of the year, because in France they had a season that starts a little earlier, and I was thinking that, well, geez, I might get picked up in the playoffs in '95, but it didn't happen. But for that, it was still another good experience for me playing with France for a year or two.
How'd you get the nickname the golf? I'm sorry, help me pronounce it. I'm trying to get it right.
It's
Guffaw.
Guffaw. I got it from Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel, the comedian. Mm-hmm. He did it in shows in Atlantic City in the '80s. So I saw a couple of his shows, and just had a chance to talk with him. So I decided I wanted to copy him when I scored a goal in the NHL, so like NFL. So I went to center ice and did Guffaw, which means a hearty laughter and excitement. So ever since that time, I've been on, and a year ago he did a show in Atlantic City. I had a chance to talk with him, and I trademarked it, but he didn't mind that I did that, and so it's all been really good. And so now. A year ago, I started my own Guffaw cigar brand from the Dominican Republic. And so anybody wants to order online, they can. And just go to my GuffawCigars.com website, and they can order from there. But they're really good cigars.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What made you decide to want to get into the cigar business?
Well, I was always a good golfer when I played hockey and the summers, and so I liked a nice cigar when I played golf outside. And so I was been thinking about it for a few years, and then it just took a couple of years to set it up. But I did it the right way. Something with quality. I visited the Dominican Republic, Santiago, 2.5 years ago with my son and with Ken Dunnick, a former Eagle, and we toured around the factory. So they taught us how to make them, roll them, smoke them, and and wanted something with quality so that it's not cheap, and so that way people can understand that it's you reorder and then you can build a business like that.
So I see you were inducted into the Philadelphia Flyers Hall of Fame in '99, Saskatchewan Hall of Fame, the Hockey Hall of Fame. Do you think you should be in the actual NHL Hall of Fame itself, with the stats that you put up in your career, or does it not matter to you?
It does matter, because I was very quiet, and so I didn't say anything too much when I played hockey, and but my stats are really good, and especially in the playoffs, and for 1,000 points in 1,000 games, it makes a difference, but be consistent and to win. Like I did, I was first 13 years I was in the playoffs every year with the NHL, and so that's where you get known as a good player, and then you give back for the Hall of Fame. There's other things that you do that make a difference too. Like I did the radio for 9 years for the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm on the Flyers alumni board meet, and I give back to charities, and I played for World Championships and Canada Cup and the Spangler Cup and junior hockey. So, it all starts adding up. And so I'm very happy where I am. It's kind of the only thing that I'm missing right now. All of the other awards that I have, that's great, but it would be nice if I got in the Hall of Fame.
Do you think whoever votes in on the Hall of Fame, they will actually see your stats and you will one day get in?
I think that they're taking notice because I have a couple of friends, that were talking about it a little bit more now, and so there's a couple people that I know that could support me, and so it's a process that has to do it. You don't want to ask, but if you do it the right way and people promote you the right way, and then you have to be nominated with the 18 different players in the league that have the Hall of Fame. So it'll take some time, but I'm hoping that one of these days I can get in.
Now, I know when you played, it was a lot more physical in your day. Is there a certain fight that you can remember where you just knocked somebody out, or you ended up getting knocked out on the other hand?
No, not at that time, because we always had tough teams in the Philadelphia Flyers. So I didn't have to worry about fights. And, like we had Ben Wilson and Glenn Cochran and Rick Tocchet and Dave Brown and you name it, Mal Bridgman. So we had tough players. So, they left us alone, and but I was chippy, but I still hold on myself. I could I'd had a couple of five fights, but they were short, like 2 hits. They hit me, and then I hit them, and then they fell out. But I wasn't much of a fighter. I mean, I didn't really need to, because I was one of the top players in the 80s.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I saw your stats. I mean, one of a kind. You were one of the best players in that era. So, I mean, yeah, you didn't really need to fight, to be honest.
I played both sides of the ice. I was one of the top penalty killers and power plays, and and my plus minus was really good, and so it was. I think in the history in the forwards, I'm 10th all time for plus minus in the NHL. That speaks a lot.
Now, do you remember? Tell the audience, or share a story that you remember most from your career. That you remember, if it was on the ice or off the ice, that happened to you, that was most memorable to you.
Yeah, so for me, it'll be probably 1987, Game 5 in the finals in Edmonton, because we were down, 3-2 games, and so like that game, I had 4 assists, and we won 4-3 to force a Game 6. And then, of course, Game 6 in Philadelphia, I scored the tying goal with 6 minutes left, and then J.J. Daniels scored to win and to force a Game 7. But my best memory is the game that I played in Game 5 in Edmonton, or the finals.
But I would say that too. I actually saw highlights of that game just recently on NHL. So yeah, that game was memorable. I really enjoyed watching that one. So let's talk a little about today's game. You said you were an announcer briefly. What do you feel the Flyers need to do to be successful from ongoing? Because I know they've got some young talent, along mixed in some veterans, but what do you feel the Flyers need to get over that hump?
I think they need a little more consistency. They win some and then they lose a few, and especially this year, it's you're playing against your own division, which is tough because it's a good division there this year. But they didn't play that consistent, and they lost a couple games that they needed to. But the young guys are coming along really nice, and I really like Cardi Hart, because he's up and coming. He had a tough season this year, but he'll keep coming back. He's going to be one of the best goalies that we have. But we just need to have a couple leaders that know how to win and to get into the playoffs.
Now, I don't mean to bring this up. I know it's a touchy subject for much, but do you feel the league is advancing more to grow in a game with getting African Americans to play? Because I know there's at least 5 or 6 now. I don't know how many were back when you played, but do you feel the game is growing even more throughout the years?
Yeah, but these guys they work hard. They skate fast, and it's not that physical anymore. But it's diversible, and so there's all of the teams in the world want to play in the NHL. The Czechs, the Russians, the French, the Swedes, and the Finns, and so it's tough because the best players in the world are there. And so after time, especially in the U.S., there are a lot more hockey rinks available. So they start at a younger age. And so they learned how to skate. And I know because when I retired, I built the Medford Ice Rink in New Jersey, and taught people how to learn how to skate, how to play defense and play forward. And so I think that there's more people that are divorced. I still have aphasia, so I can't say the words that well because of the stroke almost 6 years ago. So. But it's changed a lot, but I think it's good for the battle.
So, I gotta ask you now, since you played for the teams that don't even exist no more, the Minnesota North Stars and the Hartford Whalers, did you know playing that eventually they would expand to what they are now when you played? Did you ever foresee that coming? Because I know the Lightning formed in 93, I believe it was, where they expanded to that, and then I forget what other team. But did you know they were going to expand and take those teams out of the league?
Yeah, but it was different because at that time, the rinks were smaller, and Hartford was they moved to Carolina, and and Quebec last a few years before that. That was tough because everyone likes it in Canada. But and now there's more teams coming to the leagues. It was going to be 32 or something.
Yeah, 32. Yeah.
So Yeah, but you have to build a rink, and then you have to sustain it and make sure that it's better. Like look at Vegas, like how good they did the last few years in the playoffs, and they're in it again. And so like you build the right team, and you never know, it can make a difference.
Now, since you were an announcer, did I asked this to everybody I have as well that were also announcers and coaches as well. Did you at one point in time think about coaching in the league if you were offered it, or did you not want to coach?
No, I didn't really want to quit coach because I started my family when I was done my career, and so like I wanted to spend time with them. And to be a coach, you have to be at the rink all day, every day, all the time. It's kind of brutal. For me, to do the radio for 9 years, that's a little different because I only a couple hours at a time, but I traveled with the team. I did every game, home and away, and the playoffs. So you had a little bit of a break to perform, but then I started working with my company, Wolf Commercial Real Estate, the last 6.5 years. And 5 years before that, I was with the Judge Group in Philadelphia. So I wanted to be something a little closer to home. Coaching, I was thinking about it. If I was going to be a special coach, like a power play or something like that, I would have thought about that. But, I didn't want to be a head coach.
So, what about, can you share with the audience that's listening your time announcing? What game do you remember most from when you announced?
Well, one game was the 5 overtime game, where premiers scored in Pittsburgh to knock them out. So like because I had to get guests all the time. It was tough because like 5 other periods, and so like but for me it was exciting to be there and be part of that, one of the longest games all time, and to see the Flyers win in Pittsburgh, that was very special.
So now I gotta ask you currently about the Bruins. Do you see them competing with the Bolts this year? Or do you see the Bolts taking over and repeating as Stanley Cup champs?
Well, it's a lot different because of the divisions are different because you have to be playing your own division. So I'm not sure how it's going to work in the playoffs. But now the first thing is that you have to get into playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, it makes a big difference because almost every team has a chance to win. Look at St. Louis a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, and the Capitals.
And the Capitals were really good too. And but St. Louis, and even when I played for Minnesota, we were one of the lowest teams in the league. But then we beat Chicago, St. Louis, the Oilers, and then almost Pittsburgh. So it depends on how you put your team together, how the leaders work, and sometimes you need a little luck. For me, throughout my career, like there's been a couple playoffs where Tim Kerr was hurt, Brad McCrimmon was hurt, Mark Howe was hurt. So you have to make sure that you're not injured because that makes a big difference. But for this year, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Like in Canada, they're playing all in Canada. So how does that work? Like you only play against yourselves.
That's true.
So it comes down to the playoffs where you don't really know them that well. And so like it could be different.
Now, since you won 5 Stanley Cups, I know you never won back-to-back, but how hard is it truly to win back-to-back Stanley Cups?
Well, that was when I was with the Flyers were in 74 and 75. They won. I didn't win there, but I was in 5 Stanley Cup finals, but I kind of didn't win any. But the Stanley Cups, it's really tough to get there. Like you look at Pittsburgh a couple of years ago, like they went to back, but they had great players, Crosby and Malkin and the goalies. That's what you need, So like that's why I'm thinking that Carlo Hout, he's going to be up and coming, one of the best goalies all time, and so the Flyers might just have to get another player or two that could make a difference for them to be competitive.
Do you see the Bolts repeating this year?
Well, they're really good, and especially you've got the goalie that's so good too. But they learned a lesson a couple of years ago when they got swept, and then they learned from that, and then they did a good job, winning again. So and all these teams, when they get into playoffs, there's a lot of great goaltenders and defense that you have to play, and stars that you need to get. The stars have to play better in the playoffs, and which can be tougher, but it's a challenge. And I'm not sure what's going to happen this year. That's to tell you the truth.
Since you were traded a couple times. Wait, no. Yeah, we went through this. I forget. Was it 1 or 2 times you got traded?
Just once in Boston.
Okay, that's right. I'm sorry. Yeah. What's it like going through a player's mind, knowing the fact that you're going to be traded, but you want to stay for that team even if you're winning? Do you kind of get my point on that?
Yeah.
What goes through a mindset of a player when you're on a winning team, but you get traded anyhow to either another winning team or to a team that's rebuilding?
Well, the way that it works is that, like a lot of these guys that get traded at the deadline, they have a chance to win a Stanley Cup, and so that's all they're looking for. And I know that you look at all some of the former Flyers, like Carter and Richards that won in LA, so and even St. Louis, like the coach Ruby, he won the cup, and then Shen was a winner there from the Flyers too. So it was a little special because they at least they figured out a way to win. But at that time, depends. You know that it's a job that you have to do, and as long as you do the best you can, and play as well as you can to help the other team win, that really makes the difference. You have character people that know how to win.
Do you still talk to any of your former teammates?
I do all the time because we have a strong board and our Flyers alumni. I've been here 41 years in New Jersey, and I know a lot of the alumni that are there. We do events together. We do a golf tournament where we have 50 groups, and then we have other things that we do for the Flyers alumni. And I know what everybody, because I have all their emails and cell names, and so I talk with them, a lot of them.
What arena did you enjoy playing the most, and what fan base did you like playing against?
Well, I loved Montreal because of the history in Montreal. The 24 Stanley Cups, and they skated just by themselves throughout the day, and the ice was always great. But the history in Canada was special to me, and Montreal, and some of the greatest players were there. And and of course, I loved Chicago too, because that was so loud, and the organ was there flying around, and so it was special because you wanted to beat them all at the time. And then Madison Square Garden is special because it's still one of the top arenas around. But I hated Buffalo. I hated to play in Buffalo.
Yeah, I could see that. Buffalo was indeed a tough place to play, and it still is. I know the Bolts have trouble every time they go up there. I don't know what it is about Buffalo, but they cannot beat the Buffalo Sabres in Buffalo. So I feel you on that. I don't know what it is. But now I want to push in back to current game. With the Seattle Kraken coming, do you see basically what they did with the Las Vegas? Do you see them taking a player from each of the other 30 teams? Is that how that's going to go next year? Because I know they're coming in the league next year.
Yeah.
Is that how they're going to do it?
I think it's the same thing as that they did it with Vegas, and the GM is. I know the GM because Francis is a good player. Like, plus I play a lot of charity golf in New York and New Jersey and PA. So there's a couple tournaments that I go, like La Fontaine and Messier, and a lot of the players that I still know. So I met a lot of them at an event in Long Island, a nice golf course there. So I had a chance to talk with them, and so that's there's smart hockey demands, and so like they do a good job, and so I'm sure they'll be prepared for the draft, and that's coming up in June.
Now, what players did you enjoy playing against the most besides Gretzky and Lemieux?
Well, I loved, my favorite player for the Flyers to play with was Brad McCrimmon and Mark Howe. I mean, they always plus 85 every season, so you knew you got a chance to score when they're on the ice. And I loved, I hated, well, I liked Bork, Ray Bork, the way he played, because he was key. He was tough to defend, good shot, good forward player, and so like I loved those types of players.
What about Messier?
Yeah, Messier. Well, but he played in the other division, so like it was a little different. Like I played in the East most of the time, so I know most of the players for Boston, like Bork, and then either the Islanders, Trottier, and then the New Jersey wasn't that good when I was there, but the Rangers were tough to play, and then Pittsburgh was always tough, and then Washington was kind of weak, but now they're much better. But I love those rivalries.
What players in today's gen do you see going into the Hall of Fame besides the obvious one, Crosby and Ovechkin?
Well, there's a lot of new players, but you only have 4 that you can get every year. And since this last year, there's no Hall of Fame this year coming, so it just. I think that they might look at the volunteer swim, the twins, Halleck and Sedin.
Yeah. I was about to say that because those two should be getting in. Yes. Because they played. I think the last few years they played together alongside each other. Okay, I could see that because they just retired. Maybe the Stalls.
Yeah, that's different. Like now, a lot of the guys can play a little longer because they don't get hurt too much, and it's not that tough. Like I know, like I got a couple of injuries, and some of these guys don't get hit that much, and so they can play for a lot more years. But then I'd like to see if Nifty can get in. Militant, and that would be nice. And I think that Duran. Pat Verbeek could be a good guy, so these are guys that are kind of waiting, and there's so many great players. It's hard to choose that you want.
So we didn't talk about when you were drafted. Where were you, and what were you? Where were you, and what do you remember most about being drafted, and who called you?
I was working in the farm that year. I didn't even know that the draft was there. And so when I came back from work, I just got a call from Keith Allen and said that I got drafted by the Flyers. And so, I talked with them at some time, but at that time it was different. Now everyone's at the draft, and the young guys are there, and they know what's going on. But I was working because we didn't make that much money. I mean, my first 3 years I made 60, 65, and 70,000, and so then that's not the way it is now.
True. So I gotta ask you now too. Do you like the way compared to when you played, when it was a lot more physical? Do you like where the game is going to this day, which it being less physical?
Yeah, but you can't compare, and because I loved it in the '80s. It was tougher to play against, but at the same time, like I could play much better, like with not getting hit and 3-on-3s and power plays, and so it would have been a lot easier for me, a little more room, and I could have probably got a lot more points, and so, but it's not as exciting. There's not too many fighting, and so like the fans, I know especially the women, they love the fights and things like that. But it's the way it is now. You just have to change with the times and kind of go from there.
So besides from the cigar business that you're doing today, what else are you doing today?
Well, I work with the Wolf Commercial Real Estate as a realtor. And I'm also the ambassador for Bancroft brain injury people because of my stroke. It's almost 6 years ago. So I'm an ambassador for them. I do some events for them. Actually, it's Stroke Month in May. And so I'm going to do a couple ads and videos for them and, just try to promote it to the people that aren't as futurable as me. And so, I love doing that. And then I was the Flyers ambassador for the last 4 seasons, but since they don't have hockey, I don't have that anymore. But I keep busy with the cigars, and I'm always finding out some other things. And now I'm a little into crypto money, and so
I've heard about things. My co-host is big on that too, the crypto. I still try to figure out how the heck you do it. How do you do it? I don't get it. What do you do?
Well, if you want, like, I'll give you if you want to go to novatechfx.com, it's a fund that they have where every Friday you get a percentage back on what you have, and then you grow from that. So use Bitcoin, and there's an account that you set up, and then it's been pretty good for me.
When your kids were growing up, did you ever want them to become players like you, or did you just want them to live a happy life?
Well, I waited to the end of my career before having children. So my children are now 25 and 22. So I taught them how to play hockey, and but they knew that they were there for fun. My daughter, she's now working at Comcast in Philadelphia. My son's just finishing his school year in December at Rutgers, New Brunswick. And so he's also a licensed captain. So he's got a job for the summer in Ocean City, New Jersey. And so he figures out a way, how to make some money, and he'll graduate soon.
And I like to ask this to everybody. This is definitely a trick question. I ask this to everybody throughout the major sports. I know it's early, and it's still the season. Playoffs are near. Who do you see winning the Stanley Cup? And in how many games?
Oh, that's really tough because these divisions are so different because you only play against each other. But I think Tampa has the edge.
Who do you think they go up against? That's a tough one. I'm trying to figure that out myself.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the divisions work either. So, like, I don't know how that works.
I know they're going to do a flat. I think the competition this time, I think they're going to do a flat out 16. So you're going to take 4 teams out of each division. There's 4 divisions. So you're going to rank them from 1 to 16. That's how they're going to do it.
Oh yeah. Oh, well, I learned something new.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. So who do you possibly see?
Well, Washington's always good too. So and then Pittsburgh's coming along now. But so some of the best players in the world, you can't bet against them. That's for sure.
That's for sure. I can't wait for it because I would like to see a repeat by the Bolts. I mean, that hasn't been done since, as you said, the Penguins did it. And like you said, it's hard to win that Stanley Cup back-to-back. It really is, because it's a 7-game series. 7-game series. Not many sports have that. In NFL, it's only down to 1 game. 1 game.
Right.
And NBA and NHL and MLB is 7-game series. And they always say the Stanley Cup is the toughest to win. I believe that out of all the sports. Now, I know you haven't played any other sports, but would you agree with that the Stanley Cup, as most say, is the hardest to win compared to the other sports?
Sure, by far.
Which one do you think which out of all the championships, which do you like better? Don't be biased now. I know you've seen what Lord Stanley Cups is because you've held it 5 times. You've got the World Series, you've got the Super Bowl one, and you've got the NBA. Out of all those titles, which one do you think is better to hold?
Oh, the Stanley Cup for sure.
Because of the history?
Oh yeah, and how tough it is to get there. Like you said, football. Like they have four games that they could win and win the Stanley Cup or the Super Bowl. Basketball is a little tougher, and then baseball is a little tougher too. But the hockey is tough because, as I said before, if you get an injury, that makes a difference with the team. That could kill you.
And my last question to you is, I know probably next year we will see full stadiums, but do you see maybe a little bit sooner we could, like maybe postseason time? Do you think we could actually see stadiums full, maybe?
I don't think so. No, it's not. It's too early. I mean, the hockey will get started in September again. So hopefully they'll get back to normal at that time.
I hope you're right. But awesome. You were great. I appreciate it. Thank you for joining me. It was awesome. I want you to come on again, if you don't mind, or come on whenever you want. You got my number.
Yeah, that's great.
I enjoyed it, and I know my audience will too. So, and I will text you after, because there's something I would like to ask you too. So I will text you. But other than that, thank you. It was awesome. It would be nice
if you get a chance for the recording. My brother helps me with my Brian Propp website. So if you give me his. You give me the link, and then I'll post it on my Brian Propp website too.
Awesome, thank you. I appreciate that as well. Perfect. But you have a good night, and I will text you as soon as we're done here.
Well, thanks, Brian.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.